Are you worried about getting canceled? Well, let's talk about that. Welcome, everyone. And as you know, there's always a bunch of buzz about cancel culture. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit today. And I want all of my amazing viewers from the couch to chime in and feel free to ask questions, and we'll pop your questions up along the bottom here. But most, I am excited to be joined by these three amazing people. So let's introduce my co-host and guest and get started. First of all, Caitlin is co-hosting with me, and we are excited to have you here. Caitlin, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to introduce yourself while you answer it, and then we'll go to the other two, all right? How is taking accountability for your mistakes helped you in your entrepreneurial journey? I can't be the only one that's made mistakes. You've had to have made a mistake along the way, Caitlin.
Well, of course, aren't we all human? So I am a graphic designer turned web developer. I also sort of kind of say I'm a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. I was working in print publishing for the first 15 years of my career. And so pandemic happened, had a kid, wanted to change it up. And so I quit my job and started helping people in the online business world in 2020 in the middle of, a pandemic. And so accidentally became an entrepreneur. And now 2 years in, I love it. And I can't imagine going back. And so what was there it is. Thank you. And I think taking accountability is it's scary in the beginning, but I think that the more honest you are when you don't know if you don't know what you're doing, or if you made a mistake, or you overpromised and underdelivered, just taking that accountability and communicating has always been has brought me further and helped my entrepreneurial journey grow. There's been some hiccups, there's been some clients that weren't happy with the work, and just taking that ownership and also not letting it be a full reflection on who I am, and to just keep going, because mistakes happen. And I think that in the corporate world, there's a lot less room for error because you're always a little bit afraid of being fired. But as an entrepreneur, there's a little bit more freedom because you're on much more of a level playing field with your clients.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Namita, introduce yourself and tell us how taking accountability has helped you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Hi. Yes. So about me, what I do, I'm a videographer, marketing agency, and a copywriter. I'm all about helping entrepreneurs build thriving businesses by crafting them the right presence they need online, turning their voices and ideas into compelling visuals, powerful presences that connect, engage, and convert. So my background is in media, marketing, film, and for me, before I was freelancing for all kinds of production houses, working from one project to another, jumping from one company to another. So I was continuously looking for the next opportunity. And I wasn't really comfortable with that. And I thought, instead of just looking for the next opportunity, I wanted to create my own opportunity, my own community, my own empire, and make things happen. And so this is where I took the jump and set up my own business. So in terms of accountability, so on my entrepreneurial journey, I've been through a lot of highs and lows, and with the lows, I have come across a number of mistakes in my business. But the good thing about having these mistakes is they really do make you a stronger, better person. Such mistakes that I've made in the past was not, for example, not having boundaries. Like when you are your own boss, you wear many hats, and you can easily do one task after another and work into the evening. And I was really experiencing this stress in my health and problems with health and stress, and I realized it's not good for me. I don't feel good. I don't look forward to the next day. And so I have boundaries in place. So that's one of the things I've come across, such mishaps I've come across, and by having these, by learning from your mistakes, it helps you perform better effectively and serve much more, serve your customers well.
Very true. I like that. Boundaries is something that we don't talk about enough. Taylor, come introduce yourself and tell us about what you do and how taking accountability in those times that you have not done things to the standards you wished, how that's helped move you along in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Taylor Adams. I am a real estate investor and content creator. And so much like Caitlin's story, back in 2020, I was 4 months pregnant trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing with my life. And I decided that I really wanted to help Gen Z and millennial women learn how to grow generational wealth and find financial freedom through real estate investing. And so to do that, I really leaned into my channels, my social media channels, and became a content creator. And so I think one of the interesting things about what I have done in the last few years is really shown all of the mistakes that I've made along the way to my community. And as someone who is, I think it's a kind of a funny term to call myself an influencer, but as a creator who has a public face, sometimes your mistakes are right on screen and everyone can see them. And I have tried really hard to lean into those mistakes, whether they're, mistakes that I am making in serving my community or mistakes that I've made in my entrepreneurial journey. And by being open and honest about those, it makes you more relatable to your community and to the people around you. And I like to think that it makes other people feel like, well, I'm not alone in when I make these mistakes. Like, I'm just human. We're all human, just trying to grow and evolve and become the best version of ourselves. So I think being more open about these mistakes and not hiding them has actually brought me closer to my community and helped to bring more authenticity to my brand. So I think that's kind of how it's helped my entrepreneurial journey, even though there's been some hiccups along the way.
I love that. And it's great to get an insight on all of you. So for me, I've been an entrepreneur for 34 years. This is my whole life. And along those 34 years, I have made more than one mistake, not only in the way I've handled business or maybe the way I've handled clients, but maybe the things I've said or done that as I grew as a human, I realized, like, oh my gosh, who was that? Like, how could I have ever said something like that? Just simply out of being ignorant and unaware of my surroundings, basically. What I found for me, you can do one of two things. You can get embarrassed, you can bury your head and blame everyone else. Well, that's how I was, always did it, or that's what I was told, or, blame everyone else. Or you can just suck it up and say, you know what? I was absolutely wrong. I handled that whole situation terribly. And now that I see, I've learned from that, and I will never make that mistake again. And use it as a teaching tool to help build your community and build your following and build your brand up as somebody with integrity, because we all see things differently. We all are, mess up, and we all say things that we wish we could take back. But we live in a digital driven age. There's really no taking back right now. And I think that's why cancel culture is such a big hot topic, is because, when you say it, it's not just you and 3 people that heard it. It's out there for the world to hear. And so when you fall, sometimes it's a small fall for you, but it gets amplified. So the quicker you pick yourself up and say, wow, I just tripped on that, that's not going to happen again. You can really use that to show yourself as somebody with integrity and somebody that cares about humanity and just simply isn't perfect. All right, let's go. My producer's telling me I'm talking too much. Why is it important to understand how to use your company culture to build your brand? So we're talking about building our brand. Let's see. I am going to have Namita go first. How does understanding how to use company culture help you build a brand?
So I feel understanding your company culture around you is very important when building a good brand, especially building a good brand presence. So there are many factors to take into account when it comes to understanding your company culture, like your brand values, what are your objectives, who are your target market, who are you targeting, who are your customers, who are your clients, values and beliefs, as well as what you're selling. Like these elements are very important to build up a good brand, a good presence. I feel the more you understand your company culture, your values, your own message, and who you're targeting, your audience, your values, the more accurate you're able to create a brand that will connect with your customers, your audience. So it's also, in terms of culture, you have to also, it's knowing all about the business inside out before you create a thriving brand. Like it's one of the secrets to creating a thriving brand. It's really knowing yourself as a business.
I love that. I love that. Taylor.
Yes. I think something really interesting happened over the last few years because so many people were working from home. We got this kind of look into the lives of all of these different companies and what people were doing. So there really wasn't any way to hide your company culture. And I think that it's important to think about how we can lean into that. How do we make it more relatable? How are we more related to these people who we're seeing, their kids in the background and their dogs jumping up on the computer screen? How can we lean into that authenticity to really relate to our audience? So I think a lot of brands have done a good job with this, where they have made something that's more authentic than it was before. I feel like before it was like, there was the wall up between the brand and the business, the brand and the audience. And now I feel like that wall has kind of come down a little bit and it's become a little bit more casual. And so I think you need to think about how do you want to take what has happened over the last few years and really present that into a way that shows your audience that you're real people and that your brand cares about them and the things that they care about. So those are the things that I think are really important to think about.
I love that. Authenticity is kind of the word of the day, I think. Mm-hmm. I love that. Caitlin.
I definitely agree with what Taylor was saying, and just that idea that, we kind of separate, to think of like the before times is like it was separate. It was like you were who you were at work. You picked your kid up from daycare, you went home, you cooked dinner, and it was very much separate. And now there's like a much thinner curtain. There's still the separation. We've set up offices, or you go back to the office, but there's more of a separation, or less of a separation now, that sort of makes it harder to go back into that world. And so your company culture becomes everything, where it's like, are you expecting people to be answering emails 8:00 at night? Because now you've seen the kid in the background, that they're there in a much more tangible way than just like knowing, oh yeah, so-and-so has a kid at home. So I think that, again, it's just a matter of every piece of how you do business is part of your company culture, even if no one sees it on the outside. But now we have such more ways to see both inside of a business and inside of the coworkers' homes.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs feel like, well, why do I don't have company culture. I'm the one person show. I do everything. I am the company. But that's not really true. You still have people that you work with, that you collaborate with, that, even if they may not be a W-2 employee of yours, they are still collaborating with you. They're still working with you. And how are you to work with? Like when people say, oh, I got to go do something with Headshots by Peggy, how does that make them feel? Are they excited because they know that I'm going to pay them on time? I'm going to make sure that if I told them these are the hours and that's what's going to happen, that, you know, how do I make the people around me feel? And I think that because I think the pandemic and the fact that we live in such a visual world now that, you know, in real time, you know, we're here talking with somebody from London. I mean, come on, like we're just talking like we're in the same room together, right? It's just so normal now. There's not that separation anymore. Yeah. So it's easier to say, hey, this is how people should be treated. I don't know, like humans, with basic dignity and respect of their hours, and you know, whether we know it or not, we are the same at work as we are at home. That's true. That's true. Whether, you know, if that's, that was deep actually. The more you let that sink in for a second, because it's true. Even if you go to work, you know, we're still the same person. We still have, we may show different sides, but a lot of that is going to always reflect. All right. How does a lack of awareness of global and cultural trends affect how you move in life and business? Now we are going to start with Namita.
Well, a lack of awareness on global cultural trends. Yeah, I feel it's important that we keep up to date with what's happening in our world, and what trends are happening in our society, so that we also keep up to date, even as businesses, with how we work, how we communicate, so that we're able to serve our audiences effectively, and also help us maximize our reach and create content on a marketing side, like create content that connects and relates to our market, our audience. It makes us feel, even our brands, our services, the content we create, it makes it all valuable to our audience. Applying what's going on, like in terms of what's trending in the world of communications, for instance, what's trending to the audience. It really helps us pick up new ideas and techniques that we can use as entrepreneurs, how we can also like upgrade our services, our products, and also how we communicate to our market. I feel it helps us add how we can add more value as well, and upgrade how we work, how we communicate as well. We find new ideas and trends, techniques.
Very, very good. Okay, Taylor, how does a lack of awareness of global and cultural trends affect how you move in life and business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think going back to this veil, we were talking about how this separation was created prior to the pandemic. And I think what we saw happen a lot over the last 3 years is the absolute need to understand what is going on around the globe in the cultural trends, you know, from a social media aspect. You know, should I be posting? Because there's this big thing going on that it would be insensitive if I were to post right now about like, oh, look at my pretty clothes, instead of this, you know, very, maybe it's a traumatic global event going on. And so I think really understanding the vibe of social media, of the world, of all of the different things that are going on in that moment is really important, maybe more now than ever before, because it is going to impact how your audience sees your business. If they think that you have a lack of understanding of what is really important, maybe it's not like your pretty clothes or your jewelry, it's, you know, some bigger thing going around globally, then they're going to lose trust in your business. So staying really up to date and aligned with the values that you've put into place as a business is really important to moving your business and your life forward, and keeping that trust, respect, authenticity with your audience and allowing them to continue to want to work with you as a brand.
Yes, Caitlin, you got to follow that. Sorry.
I know, that was good. It just feels like at this point, it's almost unavoidable that you'd almost have to purposely be putting your head in the sand to avoid at least being marginally aware of the global and cultural trends. And then that willful ignorance will catch up with you. So it feels like it's just sort of, what's the way to say it? It's like it's just part of the way of the world now. It's like we are much more of a smaller community than we used to be, and you're much more aware of things that are happening across the world, and it's your responsibility as a global citizen and then also as a business owner to be aware and sensitive and empathetic to the world around you and make your business decisions based on that. And just, there's no way to avoid, like, there's no way to not be part of these conversations anymore, or at least be aware of them and decide how you market yourself around them. If you don't want to comment, because you also don't have to comment on things you don't want to, but just even that baseline level of awareness and empathy as you make your business decisions and your marketing and showing up in the world.
So I grew up in a different time than you. I'm the senior here in this group. You guys are all like the age of my kids. But I grew up in a really small town where there was no internet. There was, it was before the internet. And so I grew up with this view of the world that was just so narrow. But now, even if you live in the middle of nowhere, you still have access to the entire world, and we can respect each other on a level that we maybe weren't held accountable to before. But now we see the humanity in all of its different faces and all of its different cultures and all of its different areas. And I think when you decide to bury your head in the sand and refuse to look at that, you're really hurting yourself. Because the world's going to keep moving, the world's going to keep going, and they will pass you by. So a lack of being aware of how beautiful humanity is and how your business can contribute to the world globally, it's going to stifle you. You are the only one that's going to be hurt. You make that decision on your own. Okay, it's time to keep networking. Who should we ask to, if we need help trying to avoid being canceled? Now, I know Namita has a heart out, so I'm going to start with you because I want to hear your answer on this. So,
is this like in terms of company, like?
Who would you ask? Yeah. Would it be like look inside, look to your peers, look to who would you suggest? Like, if you have that friend that's always saying things that are like, where in the world are you at? Who should they ask for help?
Well, I first of all start looking in here. Like, I start to just reflect within myself. I feel what would be the next steps? What steps I feel is right for me where I'm at now, realistically, where I am now, and what can I do to achieve the next goal, the next step. Yeah, I would like reflect first within, and then I feel I will ask like people in my community, or even ask a mentor or help. I first of all just ask myself within, like, what's the next step, what's right for me, and who I shall connect with, then if necessary, yes, I connect with, let's say, people in my circle. Like what's next, what's the right step.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think a lot of times it's about being authentic to yourself and looking inwards.
Yeah.
Andrea always says mirrors and maps, right? Like what will reflect back to you and what has gone before you. So I like that. I like that answer very much. Caitlin, how about you? Who should you ask to try to avoid being canceled?
I think very similar within your peers, your network, finding people that you trust that you could potentially talk out things that you might not understand without putting the burden on somebody else to make you understand it. But at least if you could find a trusted source to have like an open conversation with, to learn, because there's always a tough balance of like, you don't want to be ignorant or uninformed, but you also don't want to make it somebody else's responsibility to educate you. So there's that like fine balance of finding someone that you would be able to trust to have that honest conversation and be able to be in a learning mode.
Yes, Taylor.
Yes, I think that's such a good point. So I agree with what both of you had said. Definitely looking within at first. I often feel that I am making the wrong first step, and so I will immediately go to my husband and be like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And so he is really good at kind of like bringing me down a level and being like, all right, we're going to like find the next steps and we're going to work through it. And so I try and come from all of this as from a level of understanding and trying to understand and educating myself as much as I can through just research, going online and doing as much research into topics that I don't maybe understand. And then as well, feeling the pulse of my audience. If I really am stuck and feeling like I'm not sure if I'm making the right call on something, maybe it's just reaching out to my audience and being like, what do you guys think? What do you think of this? I think having that open discussion and keeping the lines of communication open is really important in creating that authentic connection.
Very true. I love that. I love that everybody's saying like, reach out to your peers, reach out to your audience. I'm going to come at it from a different angle. Reach out to people that are not your peers. Reach out to people that are not in your circle. Reach out to people that have a completely different lived experience than you do. And by reaching out, I like that Caitlin mentioned, it is not someone else's responsibility to educate you, but you can seek out. There are creators. Find creators on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and listen to their content. People that are out there that are in this space of educating people, seek them out, and seek people out that don't look like you, that don't have the same group of friends that you have maybe, and listen to their lived experience and understand that we all have different lived experiences and no one is right or wrong. We're coming from different perspectives. And that's what makes this world so freaking amazing, is there's so many different perspectives in this collage. So I think that just being aware and kind and coming from a place of kindness and will really, really help boost that. So these are all really great comments. All right, now it is time for gaining knowledge. Your final thoughts. This is a speed round. One final thought, go for it. Share one tip to maximize the culture of your brand.
So what I suggest is be consistent when you're building a good presence. Know your audience and be consistent, because the know you more your target audience, the more accurate you create, the more accurate content you create for your brand, for your branding, the more, and then that way, the more relatable your content will be for your audience. They can closely connect with you, your presence, and even you as Trip now. So it's important that you know your audience well and and be consistent with it in order to maximize your reach and level of engagement.
I love it. That was more than one. Be consistent. Okay. I'll be quiet. Go for it. Caitlin.
Take risks within reason, but also be open to learning, and also open to accepting when you make a mistake and apologize. And back to the first question of take accountability for your actions. But the only way to grow is to keep pushing yourself, and that helps the culture of your brand and you as an individual.
I love it. I love it. Taylor.
Yes. So you want people to know, like, and trust you. You want your audience to know, like, and trust you. And so in order to do that, you just have to be authentic. Be you, show up and show who you actually are. I think that's really important in really relating to your audience and creating a very strong brand.
Yes. My one tip is build the culture that you want to live in. Build your brand that you want to buy, that you want to be around. Be the brand that you want. All right. We made it. Now it is time for announcements. I know, I try, Monica. I tried. All right. Namita, tell us what is going on with you and how people can find you.
Yeah, well, I'm always open to connect. So if you'd like, I'm running a free strategy session where it's 30 minutes on a call with me, and we go through your brand, your business, your target market, your products and services, and your goal. We help you create a good strategy that will help you create a thriving selling presence that connects, engages, and converts into customers. And really help you build a presence that generates opportunities. So if you're interested and if you'd like to connect and have a chat, you can book a strategy session with me on my website, www.namitakabelas.com. And if you'd like to keep up to date with further tips, inspirations, and ideas on building a thriving presence, you can follow me on Instagram at Namita Kabelas.
Yay, thank you. All right, Taylor, what is going on with you? And how can people connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. So I work with brands and influencers, as well as people interested in real estate investing. So you can find me on Instagram and on all of the other platforms at Taylor Coleman Adams. Send me a DM. Would love to connect and learn more about how I can support you, your brand, or if you're an influencer, growing your business.
Awesome. All right, Caitlin.
Okay, so I'm a brand developer and web developer. So I have a free gift that is some 7 small but impactful tweaks you can make to elevate your online presence. And you can also book a free call with me after you grab the download. You'll have a link to book some time with me. We can just kind of chat about your business and see where you're going in 2023.
Awesome. I am looking for professional photographers that are ready to take their business to the next level, increase their business and their photography skills. So send me, if you're a photographer, get a hold of me. Let's have a chat, schedule a free consultation. I can't wait to talk to you. And now let's talk about what is going on in the Mink community. We are running an amazing deal for only $79. You can be a part of this amazing community where we have daily co-working, where we have action planners, we have work. Oh my gosh, it just goes, look at this list. It's everything. We do so many things. And I love to brag about the Minkubator because that is where entrepreneurs that sometimes feel isolated, like we're doing all the things alone, can have a place to go and work, still do your own thing, but also have other people to bounce ideas off. And I think this has been one of the most powerful things, but also there's always events, there's lectures, there's talks. We have Get Shit Done, jump on for an hour with a specialist and they take you through how to do things and get it. You're actually doing it as they're walking you through it. We have so many exciting things going on in the community. Go to MinkLifeUniversity.com and check that out. Or if you want to hang out with us here on the live show, besides just being comments from the couch, if you want to jump on Zoom and talk about your area of genius, go to minklifemotivation.com/live and fill out an application. We would love to have you come share your zone of genius with us. And tomorrow is going to be another amazing live show. It's going to be moderated by Colleen, and it is boosting your influence. And it is every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure that you set your alarm and get right here. I don't know if you saw us on YouTube, if you saw us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, where you're watching us, but we are here twice a week, every Wednesday and every Thursday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This was so much fun. Thank you guys.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.